Hi guys, welcome back. I am Wendy Sod, your host of the Sodcast. So today's case I am going to talk about, it just breaks my heart to even talk about it. But I have to. I have to raise awareness about crap like this that happens that is just so disgusting to me. And I say that because this man, suspected serial killer Billy Chamirmir, hunted and killed the elderly, particularly elderly women. And I know all murder is horrific, but this just grinds my gears. I mean, targeting elderly, defenseless, vulnerable people that have no way of defending themselves against him. Just disgusting, okay? So, Billy Chamirmir was 49 years old at the time of his charges, like I said, and he was an immigrant to the United States from Kenya. And he says his father fathered 28 children, so he was one of 28. I can see why he would want to leave home and get the hell out of Dodge. It's a lot of kids. So anyway, he moves here to the United States, and when he does, he just does odd jobs, such as he's a security guard for a little while. He buys and sells and trades jewelry. Most disgustingly, he is an in-home caregiver to the elderly. Now, at the time his charges were brought, he was no longer employed as a caregiver, but he would still use the ruse to enter these people's homes that he was there as their caregiver, or he would tell these people when he knocks on the door that he was a handyman and he was there to do some repairs. Now, most of these people lived in retirement communities or assisted living facilities, and some of them were killed in their own homes. So the first lady I am going to talk about she is one of our survivors, and her name is Mary Bartell. And Mary says she was in her home on that day, and she gets a knock at the door, and when she answers it, there is an African-American man standing there, and he's wearing rubber gloves. And she says the minute she seen the rubber gloves, she knew she was in grave danger. And he forces his way in, forces her down onto the bed, tells her to shut up. He attacks her, and he tries to smother her with a pillow. Then he robs her, takes all her jewelry and whatever he wants, and he leaves. Now, he doesn't realize that Mary survived. So this case is reported to the police, and this Mary lived in a retirement community called Preston in Dallas, Texas at the time. And so when this is brought to the police's attention, they start to realize, you know what, there's some other deaths that recently have happened in the same nursing facility. And when they start looking into these, one of the daughters of one of the victims said that she just thought it was really odd when she first got there and found her mother dead, because her wedding ring was missing, and her mom never took off her wedding ring. She says she found on the pillow laying next to her mother, it looked like lipstick smeared on the pillow. Just didn't look natural to her. So once the police kind of start looking into some of these other cases that they thought were natural causes because of the age of the victims, and some of them had, complicated health problems, autopsies were never done. So with Mary Bartell's description of the man, they realize that they are looking at Billy Chamirmir. So he's on the radar, right? And they're watching him. And he lives at an apartment complex. And so they're watching him. And as they're surveilling him, they see him throw away a red jewelry box into the dumpster. So they go over to snag him up, right? And they confront him with the jewelry box. And he denies that it was anybody's. He said he bought it from someone 20 minutes prior to them showing up. But he was caught red-handed with, actually in his hand at the time, these $2 bills that belonged to one of the victims. And in his car when they searched, and in his home when they searched, they also found items of other people that had died recently in these retirement homes and in their own homes. So they're thinking, what did we just stumble on? So this investigation begins, you guys, and I mean, it blows up. Like, it just opens a can of worms. And the further they look, and the further they look, and the further they look, the more victims they find. And this whole time, Mr. Chamirmir is flat out denying any of this. He says he's 100% innocent. He did not do any of this. And so during their investigation, they realized that one of the victims had been to Walmart on the day of her death. And this was evidenced by some Walmart bags that were sitting on her kitchen counter. So they go to Walmart, and as you guys know, Walmart has a badass camera system, right? I mean, they're constantly busting people and literally solving murders from their surveillance they have there. It's amazing. So they go and pull the footage from the day that this lady was there, and they realize that also at Walmart that day, at the same exact time, was Billy Chamirmir. And he is seen crossing paths with this lady a few times. He's witnessed going in and out of the store suspiciously. He's not buying anything. He's just kind of walking around the store. He is driving a silver Nissan Altima. And he comes out of the store. He sits in his car for a while. He gets back out. He goes back into the store. Just looking really suspicious, right? So then on the surveillance, they see this lady come out of the store, and she gets into her car, and mere seconds later, Billy Chamirmir pulls out and goes in the same direction. So they pull cell phone records from that day from Billy, and they are pinging at Walmart, and they're pinging at the lady's home that was murdered. And so this is some of the evidence that they have against him. Also, while they're doing their investigation, they find rubber gloves that have his DNA on them in one of the homes. They looked into some of his dealings he had with the selling jewelry. There was some jewelry that had been sold of some of these victims that were identified by family. And so he's looking pretty darn guilty. So Mr. Chamirmir starts his trial, and, you know, they're standing by that he's guilty and he just didn't do this, and he was an ex-caregiver, and he's just not that type of person. And in the end, you guys, he ends up being charged with 4 of the murders, getting life sentences without parole. But in total, he has 22 victims that he is indicted for. Now, they are not done with this investigation. I can guarantee you that they're going to find more victims to link to him. And I'm sure that they're looking into where he lived before, you know, before he lived in Dallas. What other places did he work in when he was a caregiver? You know, I can almost take a wild guess that that's when his murderous spree started, is when he was a caregiver. And I'm so curious to see how this really plays out, because I think this is not the last we're going to hear of Mr. Billy Chamirmir. I really believe in my heart that they're going to unfortunately end up connecting more cases to him than just the 22 cases that they have. And like I said, this case just completely breaks my heart, and we have to take more care in the way that we are protecting our elderly and make sure that they're safe. And I know that they probably thought they were safe. They're living in these communities that felt safe to them. And, you know, it's so heartbreaking. And I really feel for all these families that, you know, for how long they thought that their mom just died of natural causes. And to find this out is just completely disturbing. And I am so happy he's where he's at and where he belongs, and he will pay the price when he crosses over someday. So that is the end of this case, guys. I know it was a short one, but there's not a ton of details out there on it. If you do want more details on this case, the entire trial is posted up on YouTube. It's kind of interesting to watch, a little long and drawn out, but so that is it for today, guys, and I hope you join me on my next video. Bye.